What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Necked Out Podcast. My name is Usaka. I am your host for today, and I am joined by a longtime listener, I would say. First-time guest on the show. I would like to present to everybody. Most of you who listen to this podcast know who she is, but if you don't, you will remember her after this episode. No pressure. No pressure at all. Let's give it up for my good friend, Gabriela Gonzalez.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you were here. She actually came last minute because we had a scheduling conflict with our previous guest, who ended up showing up anyway. So thanks a lot, Ernie, for that. But whatever. So we have Gaby here. We also have Carlos, who's over there sitting in the back. You can't see him, but he's over there. He's here supporting. And then, of course, we have the mastermind behind all them angles. Who sings that song about the angles again? Drake? Whatever. What does he say? Something about... he says some shit about... It doesn't matter. That's Alexito over there.
Damn. What's up?
Happy to have everybody here. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you for the shakies as well.
Of course.
Another
Thank you.
There for the shakies. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm nervous. As soon as we just started recording, I was like, oh my God.
And you know what's interesting is that it's not even like... I actually wanted to do this live, like stream it live. But then Mr. Debbie Downer over there was like, no, don't do it. I'm going to do it at some point. But yeah, we wanted to do it live, but then we're like, no, let's just do it first just to get our feet wet, shake the rust off, and then just kind of see how it goes from there. But yeah. But anyway, so let's talk about moving in together. Let's just jump right into it.
Not me and you, but
yeah. We're not moving in together. No. But
I'm the new roommate. I live here now.
The new roommate is our cats. So she moved in with our cats. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm the 24-hour cat nanny.
Pretty much. No, but you and Carlos just recently moved in. Like, how long ago did you guys officially sleep in the same house together?
The 15th, right? No? Oh, I'm terrible.
Well, this month or
no,
last
January.
Month?
So
that's right. Yeah, you guys
we're already past the 2-month mark. Yeah, but I guess our official move-in date was the 15th, and I can't remember in January, but we officially slept there that Saturday.
Okay.
Which I think it was the 15th. Or wasn't it? I don't know. I'm terrible with dates.
And how was that? Like, no, I know you guys, when we've gone on trips together, we've gone to Big Bear and we share a room or whatever. Mm-hmm. How different is it sleeping in the same bed, knowing that that person will be there in 2 weeks, consistently?
It's my house.
Yeah.
And I live here. Yeah. It's great. I think I had a lot of reservations about it. I was, had a lot of, I wouldn't say concerns, but there were things that I kept bringing up because it was just like, all right, we're moving in together now. That's what we decided. So, things may or may not be different, but I think the transition has been so much easier than what I expected. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love having our own space, one, but also to just sharing it with him has been really easy. And it's been I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I think there's a little bit of an advantage when obviously you guys have been dating for how many years? A long time. A very long time. 10 years, right?
12.
12 years.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
It's a long time. But I think there's an advantage for people who almost kind of grow up together. Mm-hmm. Date at a young age, and you kind of see each other grow, the same way Alan and Jessica have. They've dated forever. And then when you move in, it's almost not it's not a big shock. I'm not, a lot of younger couples maybe, or maybe even couples that have only been together for dating for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years max, they might move in and be like, oh, this is what you're like. Because they haven't spent that much time. But when you have 12 years of experience with each other, it's almost like nothing really surprises you. Am I right, or were there some things that you were like, oh?
To an extent, actually, we had a conversation the other day. We went to go celebrate his birthday in San Diego this past weekend.
First of all, happy birthday to Carlos.
Happy birthday.
30-30. Sucio.
But on the way back, we were having that conversation, and he said that just in the time that we've been living together, he understands me more than this whole time that we've been together. And, and I asked how so, and he said it's just more of, he's able to kind of differentiate between my moods, because, and part of me like completely understood and was actually really relieved to hear that, because living with my family, I felt, and I am someone who deals with anxiety pretty often, and it's stress induced. And when it's taken a long time to even be able to describe what that looks like to the people that I live with, let alone for them to understand. And, Carlos has seen it since the beginning, but living with me, I think is completely different. And for him to say that, he's like, I know when the difference between when you're upset at me, when you're stressed. And to me, that was just like such a big acknowledgement. And like, I feel seen, because, I lived with my family my whole life, and they still couldn't understand, and they couldn't differentiate. And it becomes frustrating because I'm just like, I'm not, it's like, well, you seem mad. It's like, I'm not first. I'm not mad. And I'm not mad at you. It's like, I'm so stressed out and anxious from something else that I can't even focus on you. So sure, I look upset because I'm not happy right now, And so him saying that he can see that and knows how to navigate that, even in the short amount of time that we've been living together, is really nice.
That's good. That's good, because like when me and Leslie also moved in, I noticed immediately. I was like, well, I already knew the kind of, and it's not like she lived in a bad household, but it was just a good amount of people living in there. And the one thing I realized about her was that she really did not have a sense of privacy in her house when she was living there. I think most people don't when they live with their parents, because, if you're not paying rent, you're like,
it's never your house.
You're like, it's never your house, And even when you pay rent, it's still kind of like, yeah, but you still kind of live here. It's still my house, Which, fine, fair, whatever. But when we moved in, it definitely was a little bit more of a, not an adjustment per se, but because me as a guy, I feel like guys for the most part growing up, especially in like Hispanic households, they have a little bit more freedom with what they can do. And so when we moved in, I kind of made it to a point to be like, I want her to like feel like this is also her home, because it is her home. It's a shared home. But, if she wants to, she has a thing about the bedding. Like, she always wants to swap it out, always wants to get new duvet covers. And I'm like, get whatever you want, just no pink. That's it, But like, I try to let her have that of like, oh, I can decorate my room the way I want it to. Like, she went to IKEA the other day and she got this like big poster of like these little cartoon things that reminded her of Monsters, Inc. And I was like, oh, why did you pick that out? And she said, I don't know. I just looked at it and it made me smile and I wanted to get it. And so she's like, can you hang it up on the wall for me? And I hung it up. And so I'm like, this is a person who has not really had the luxury of having their own space. And you can tell how important that is to people. Like, I sometimes take it for granted because I've had my own room for a large part of my life. But someone who hasn't, like, those little small things make a big difference to them. So like, my question to you is how important was it for you to kind of have, obviously you share a space with Carlos, but you can, I guess, make it a little bit more your own? Like, was it like that at your parents, at your mom's house?
Well, I've had my own room for a long time, and only within the last few years have I felt like I can afford to make changes to the room and make it more myself and not look like a little kid's room. But I mean, I have to remind myself too, and tell him, like, he's so nice about it, but I'm like, I know I have a vision for what our space will look like, but please let me know if there's something that you want to add to it, or you want to put some of your things in a particular place, or, if you're feeling some type of way that I'm not including some of your stuff, because I lived away from home a few times. a couple times. Either dormed. It's usually through school. I either had dormed before for a full year, or when I was in grad school, I moved out to Anaheim for a little bit. So at least I have some experience living away from home and having somewhat of my own space.
Yeah.
But this is completely new because I'm sharing it with my partner, not a roommate, but like my partner.
Yeah.
So I try to be as self-aware as I can. And, I'm not going to make it look like super girly or anything, but I know how I am. And it's like when there's something that I want or something, like I have a vision of what I want it to look like, I'm going to do it and make it look like that. And if your stuff doesn't fit with the space, I'm going to be like, I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to put
Let's find it a new home.
Let's find it a new home. This box over here. So yeah, I'll tell him, just like, please let me know, please, like I'll include you obviously, but like I have to constantly be like, hey, did you ask him what he felt about it? Have you asked him, what he wants, or just as a reminder, ask him what he wants, because I don't want to be selfish.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because Leslie, a while back, she went to her parents and they were offering her some kind of like a toaster oven. And so she asked me, she's like, hey, do we want this toaster oven? And then she told me later, I told her, no, because we don't have enough space for it. We already have, too many things. And I was appreciative that she asked me. And then what was even more interesting was when she got home, she was like, oh yeah, my mom made not a comment about you, Heldon, per se, but she was like, why are you...
General comment.
Just a general... Throwing it out into the ether. She's like, why are you asking him if he wants the toaster? Just take it if you want it, right? And I'm not speaking ill of her mother, She was probably just like, just take it. Who cares? She probably thought it was just a toaster. Just take it. Who cares, right? But she responded, she's like, no, because if Heldon wants to bring something to the house, he'll ask me. And if it's a no, then he doesn't bring it, because it's not fair for me to bring something into the house without asking him, and then get upset at him if he brings something into the house without asking me. So it's not like asking for permission, but it's just checking in like, hey, do we really need it? If it's no, then it's fine. It's a no.
You're being courteous.
Yeah, it's just... That's it. Yeah, because...
That goes a long way.
Whether or not you like it, this person is not only your partner, but it's also your roommate. You share a bathroom with them. You share a living room with them. Everybody's got to take turns. And I'll admit, I'm not the best at cleaning. Leslie knows this. But everybody has to take turns. You're taking the trash out, getting the mail, mopping, cleaning, stuff around the house. So it's very interesting to see that perspective from somebody who, like Leslie, who grew up in that way, in that family dynamic that's a little bit less, I guess not courteous, but it's a little bit less personal and private. When she comes here, it's like, oh, I have my own place, But anyway, I felt bad because I was like, oh no, no, here, it's your house too. Do stuff to it.
So, I have a question for you, because I think for us, we moved into an apartment, but for you and Leslie, and I've moved out a couple times and lived in different situations. But for Carlos, it was his first time moving out, period. And I know in this space, this is your home, and it's not just, you just rented out a room. Oh, wait, no, you did do that.
Yeah.
You had moved out before moving into this, but how does it feel to have a mortgage and this is your first, the full house to yourself and sharing it with Leslie? How do you feel about it now? How long is it now that you guys have had this
been a year and 4 months, 5 months, so almost a year and a half. I'll say this: a mortgage sounds like a scary word to people. It's not. It's nothing. The work that you do before, which is the credit score, paying off a certain amount of debt, saving money, all of that, yes, you have to prepare for. But once you actually get into it and you realize you have a mortgage, it's just another word for rent.
Basically.
Think about it like that.
You're just paying yourself
You're
rent.
paying, yeah. It's just at the end of the day, when you sell the house or whatever, you see that money back. That money comes back into your pocket. It doesn't get, thrown. And I'm also not saying that renting is bad. Some people need to rent because they're trying to take that next step to buy a home. So they're renting to save a little bit of money to then go into the home. And for us, it was actually interesting because we were getting a home, a property, but we were also moving in for the first time. So we had to it was very strange to put those two things together at the same time. We didn't really feel it as much until we actually closed on the house, and it was time for us to we got the keys, you know what I'm saying? It didn't really hit me until we were okay, we closed, cool. Because once we closed, I came in, I was like, okay, first thing, painted the whole fucking house, most of it. And then once the painting was done, I slept here. Once we had our mattress, I was sleeping. I'm like, girl,
I'm already paying.
I've already paid part of the mortgage.
Right.
I'm sleeping here tonight. Why the fuck am I gonna wait? And Leslie, it took her a week and a half to actually not muster up the courage, but prepare herself to be I'm leaving my family and I'm going to move with this person. And for me, it was easy because I had already moved out. You know, it wasn't a big deal in a sense. But for her, it was a big deal. So it was kind of interesting, realizing that kind of midway that we were getting a property and then moving in for the first time. And then it was even more strange to see it at the end where it's oh shit, hey babe, can you send me part of the mortgage? We've only been a month in here, and she's
can I have your half of the rent? Thanks.
Yeah, can I have your half of the rent? And so, it was a little bit, I guess it was a slight adjustment period, but, and I'm speaking in terms of realizing that we're in a home, it's nothing. It's fucking nothing. If you honestly sit down and think about how much an average person will pay for a place in Burbank, right? Or even out here in the Valley to rent, for a mortgage, it's only a couple $100 more. And obviously, granted, I'm excluding your down payment, escrow and all that stuff.
It's just more upfront.
It's just more upfront, which in the long run, I mean, escrow, you don't see that money. It's just, it's paying off something, it's paying off the middleman essentially. But your down payment, you do see, when you do your taxes, you technically should get a nice little chunk of change because you pay interest and you pay property taxes on your property, something like that. We're going to do our taxes for the first time, paying a full year this year.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, what our...
It's going to be that, it's October and March bill split into two, right? Isn't that...
What do you mean?
Your property bill. The property tax that you have to pay.
Well,
it's two different payments. I mean, you can pay it all at once, but there's two.
Yeah, they send you pay it 2 times a year. I think it's in February actually.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then I forgot what the other month is. I guess 6 months before February, whatever that is, October. So yeah, those hurt.
I know because my mom asked me to pay
really
all the time. So that's you get the two. But I mean, a condo in comparison to a whole single family house, it's a very
it's
different.
It's different. Yeah, it is different for sure. But yeah, so we'll be going through that for the first time,
right?
But like I said, I think, and I've spoken about this. People have this misconception that owning property, you have to put all the money down right away, and you need to get a single family home. You don't have to do that. Just get your foot in the door, even if it's a little studio. Just get your foot in the door and start building equity into something. And then slowly you start moving in. You start climbing the ladder. Then you move on to maybe a condo. Then you can do a little townhome. And then you can make the jump to the the single family with the backyard household and whatever, right? Whatever people want to do.
Honestly, I mean, how you guys did it, I think was really smart because you moved out before her for a little bit, but yeah. I mean, in terms of the total cost for people who have rented maybe their whole lives or have been renting for years, that money that you saved up is now just coming back to you in terms of it's an investment ultimately, right? And what you're saying that not everybody, you don't have to save up such a big amount of money to then own a single family house detached with a yard.
Yeah.
Because especially out here in LA, or just even in SoCal in general, like it's so costly. It's so expensive to buy a house, and you're always getting outbid by everybody who's paying in cash because this is just what they do. They got money, whatever, their corporations buying out properties, whatever. But, and that was something that I was thinking about, it's like Ellen and Jessica moved out to Palmdale, and even we were like giving them shit about because it's like, damn, that's so far. That's very far. But that's what they wanted, and ultimately, and they're happy with their choices. But then I remembered it's like being a planner and kind of seeing what's happening out in LA County and everything. And I was like, you know what? You also made a really smart decision because Palmdale in the next 10 to 15 years is going to look like LA.
Yeah.
Because they're already building the high-speed rail from Vegas to LA.
Yeah.
And the first stop is going to be in Antelope Valley.
Yeah.
So everything's going to be developed out there, and I'm sure in 10 years it's not going to be cheap anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, for him, I'm like, good for you. And, and he's trying to convince people to move out there, which I get because you want to have community. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, even for us, now that we've moved out, I've had people ask me, they're like, all right, what's next? Are you going to try to save up for a house? And at least for me personally, I'm like, I'm more comfortable with an apartment than to even think about a condo or just like an actual mortgage, because I feel like that's such a commitment. Mm-hmm. If in a year, I don't know, shit hits the fan, I want to change jobs, or maybe my job allows me to move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I can just pick up and go. We can just pick up and go and not be like, oh, well, now we have to stay here because we just committed to that. Yeah. So, I mean, it all depends on your goal and if this is what you wanted.
Those are one of the advantages that is to renting it, and that's one of the. It's funny actually, people might not know this, but I actually wanted to rent first. Mm-hmm. It was Leslie who told me like, no, fuck that. Let's just save money. Let's just eat shit, save money, and fucking. She didn't really say that, but she was like, let's just save money and just go into it. And at first I was like, no, because what if it just we don't like it. I don't know why I said that, but I was like, what if we just don't like it? And like, I think I was a little bit scared of the commitment, and she was fucking ready to go. And then, but then ultimately I was like, okay, let's do it then. But there is that flexibility where like, you can be like, fuck it, I'll just cancel my lease a little bit early, whatever, pay what I got to pay. If the landlord wants to charge me for terminating the lease early, and I'm fucking out of here and I get to go somewhere else. If we wanted to move somewhere, it'd be a whole fucking process. I'll tell you that. Like, I can't just like cancel my mortgage. Like, you got to do something, you know,
sell the property.
Yeah, you got to sell the property, and then you got to go either look for another property if you want to buy one, or rent. So yeah, there are pros and cons. But I think in general, I think stepping back a little bit, people need to not be afraid of just separating themselves from comfort in terms of like,
for sure.
Like living at home. I think sometimes people need to feel that pressure to be like, hey, and the thing is, like, our parents, they're not gonna kick us out unless like you're a shithead and you're
not if you come from a traditional first generation Latino household. You can live there
till you die.
To
be honest.
Till they die. Yeah. They don't care. They're not going to push you out. And that's something that I remember telling Carlos, where I'm like, it wasn't even about moving out, or I'm like, if there's something that you want to try, in terms of work or like even school, you want to fucking quit school or change your educational path. I was you can do that. You're living at home. Your parents are not going to kick you out. To us, that is our safety net. That's the only reason I've been able to leave and come back, because at the end of the day, for me, it's like, although that's not my goal, that wasn't my goal, and that's not what I was planning to do, but it's just like, if something does happen, we have a support system. We have a home to come back to. So it would be dumb to not take advantage of that and like, take a risk or do whatever it is that you want to do before you have commitments. You're with a partner, living with a partner, and now it's a shared responsibility, and you have to consider someone else. So, yeah, I mean, just.
Sorry, we're checking the cameras here, making sure. What happened?
No, there was somebody calling and pretty much froze up her camera, but
okay.
Man.
Well, I have two questions for you guys.
Give me the questions, dog.
So one question is, what do you? Because there's a lot of Latinos, especially like me, that still live with their parents.
Yeah.
Do you think one of the questions? Do you think the parents should charge their child like I'm not saying like $500, $600 to help with rent or bills, but do you think the parents should at least be like, hey, at least pay me $200-$300?
Yes.
So they could learn, I guess,
Responsibility.
that little responsibility. And then
Yeah.
the second question is, do you think a young teenager or even an adult should move out of the house at least for 2, 3, 4 months so they could learn that responsibility?
I think,
go.
I mean, ultimately, if,
Well, we can start with the first question. If anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the first question, I think you reach a certain age and you have a steady job, the least you can do is throw your parents a couple $100
Yeah.
and let that be your rent. Again, safety net. I'm sure they're not going to serve you an eviction notice if you miss a month. But
Yeah.
at the very least, it's like when not only are you learning to see, you know, like what you pay, $300 is nothing compared to actual rent.
Yeah.
Right. But you're helping your parents out
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And you want to practice what it's like to pay rent, then there you go. But it's not the same because they're so lenient.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you, they may give you shit about it, but they're not going to kick you out.
Yeah.
But I don't know about moving out for 2 to 3 months because unless you got a friend who wants to rent out the room for a couple months, but
I
that's a
think-
whole process in itself.
Yeah, I would start. Let me answer the second question first. I think, it would be if the opportunity presents itself, and you feel like if you're in that stage where you're like, man, I don't like all these rules and blah blah blah, like, fine, okay, you don't like these rules, okay, move your ass out, 2 to 4 months, whatever, 6 months, whatever you can handle, and see what real life is like. But we're talking like you don't get any money from mommy and daddy. You're paying your insurance. You're paying your own phone bill. You're paying your own internet, utilities, food, water, trash. Some places charge for your trash. You know, if you're really sick of being quote unquote like looked over, then go out on your own then and experience it, and then report back to us and see if you still want to bitch and moan when you're at mom and dad's.
Well, funny thing is, I feel like the person would literally have to move out by themselves and not have any roommates because if you got people who live with you who give a shit, they're gonna give you shit too.
Yeah,
They're
that's
like,
true.
hey,
That's true.
I can't pay your part of the rent. Where's
Yeah,
your rent?
yeah.
So things don't really change, but I
Yeah.
think people don't realize that until they move. That they're like, oh, well, I rather live at
at
the
mom
shit
and
that they
dad's.
give me. I rather live at mom and dad's. This person doesn't even clean up after themselves.
And were you scared of that before? Because I know there's people, like even Uzika would tell me that it's, especially when it's with roommates who are friends or cousins, whatever, they're always bumping heads. They're
I
like,
never said that. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
kidding.
He's No, I did say
I
that.
fought everybody.
I did say
Honestly.
I know,
give a
like,
fuck.
I'm pretty sure if you had roommates, I'm pretty sure like maybe you bumped heads and everything. Were you scared especially when you moved with Carlos, be like, oh, I'm gonna bump heads with him. I don't want it to be a fight. Were you guys, or especially you, Uzika, with Leslie, were you always like, oh, I don't want to do this?
You can answer. You can
Okay. I mean, we've been together for so long that it's like he knows me well enough where it's like, all right, you're gonna be lazy, but at some point you're gonna hear it from me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna get tired of cleaning, or I'm just gonna be like, this is no.
And I'm gonna tell you some shit.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Smack you upside the head.
Yeah, so I don't think that was ever
Like a concern.
an issue
Mm-hmm.
necessarily or concern of mine coming in and because I've lived with another guy. Like I've shared a bathroom with a guy that was fucking annoying. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard worse like roommate stories
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen it, but at least for me, luckily I haven't had like horror stories. But no, I didn't really have that problem with Carlos. I mean, every here and there, I'll have to remember, it's like, why is there toothpaste?
Oh,
on the
don't start
mirror.
because I'm gonna start venting too.
I'm like, why? Like, I know that's not me. I'm too short anyway. Like, it's not me. Okay.
It's like all the way at the top. Like, gee, I wonder who the fuck.
But it's like, I guess you become like super self-aware too, because you're like, I don't like to make the bed.
Yeah.
And then if I work from home and he leaves, maybe half an hour before he gets home, I was like, oh shit,
I should make the bed.
I should make the bed, because then if I was him, I'd be upset.
You know what's funny? Okay, we're gonna talk about like couple shit today. This is gonna be one of those episodes that a lot of people might not relate right away, but it's a little bit of insight into like the dynamic of a couple. Whenever I'm not okay, so recently my schedule with Leslie has changed. We used to have Monday and Tuesday off together, right? So I adapted to her schedule. My job is very flexible, so I was like, cool. I'll have
That's
Monday
so
and
nice.
Tuesday off. I'm very lucky to have a fucking job that's flexible like that. And so, so we would have Monday and Tuesday off, and then her schedule recently changed again. So we would work. What the fuck was that? I thought it was the cats. So we would work Wednesday through Sunday, and at my job on Sunday is the busiest days, which means make a little bit more cheddar. You know what I'm saying, dog? And so I was like, I can't let go of that Sunday because it's the day where I make the most money. So her schedule went from Tuesday to Saturday. So she works Tuesday to Saturday and she has Sunday off. So the only day we have off together is Monday. And so she's like, sometimes like I will have gone for the day and she decides to clean. And it's funny because she's like, I like when you're not here because then I feel the less pressure to clean and I can clean at my own pace. Because when I'm here and we have to clean, like I'm trying to get her to do everything and I'm trying to do everything at once. So like there's no breaks. But Leslie likes to take breaks. She's like, I like to like work for 40 minutes and then take 40 minutes of a break.
I answered one email and I'm gonna go take a 2-hour break.
Exactly. And so she's like, I feel less pressure. Like she's not trying to say like, I prefer it when you're not here. But when it comes to cleaning for her, it's a little bit easier for her to clean when I'm not here. Cause I guess she feels more pressure when I'm here. And I don't like that I make her feel that way, but she always tells me, no, it's not you, it's me. It's just, that's just how I am. I'm okay, fine, that's fair. But that's a little quirk that you reminded me of when you were talking about the whole cleaning thing. When you were talking about the making the bed. You're like, oh, Heldon's here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he always makes the bed, and I was like, oh, that's so nice because I get out of that room. I work from home, so I literally just roll out of bed, put on a robe, and go sit in the next room and work for the next 8 to 10 hours, you know? And then, but then I look at the clock, I was like, I should make the bed. And then I feel bad that he comes home from a whole shift to then feeling like he has to wash dishes or clean, you know, and that's not fair to him either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same way with cleaning. Saturdays for me is like the day that I do like a deep clean.
Oh, okay.
Like I sweep, they pick everything up, I vacuum that shit out of the house. Like,
Is it easy?
Count the counters.
Is it easy right now that you guys don't have a lot of stuff to clean?
Yes.
Because I know over time, couples are
Man,
like,
it's fucking dusty.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
You'd be surprised.
I get so mad because I'll just vacuum, and then in an hour, it's just dusty. I was like, I just cleaned it. Like, it's so annoying.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, Saturdays like the days that I do like a deep clean.
Deep cleaning.
Whatever laundry's left, put everything away. Just because when it's my days off, I guess I spend all of Saturday cleaning, but
Yeah.
at least have one day where I don't have to worry about it, or it's clean enough where during the week we don't have to worry about it so much.
Right.
Definitely the kitchen is the one thing where I'm like, I really want to wash the dishes right after we cook. I want to clean the stove right after we cook. Made a mess in the microwave, clean it, because to me that's food. That's gross.
It's just
You live in an apartment. You don't know how clean your neighbors are. Luckily, we only have one neighbor technically that we share.
a wall with.
Not even a wall. Like we're on the second floor and they're under us. And then all of our other neighbors are in like little bungalows in the front, like the front part of the property.
Oh,
so, okay. We're the upstairs neighbors.
Yeah.
And we don't share any walls.
Okay, question, because we have an upstairs neighbor and they have lead foot. Do you guys try to like walk carefully, or are you just like pow, 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 pow?
I mean, we don't wear shoes in the house. So we don't wear shoes in the house. So I guess that in itself is quiet.
That helps.
We drop shit all the time.
Oh,
and
no.
we feel bad. You know, we're just like, there goes the remote. There goes my phone. Like, just like that happens all the time. But sometimes I feel like they're louder than we are. And it sounds like they're the upstairs neighbors sometimes. I'm like, the fuck is she doing? She sounds like she's
What do
like
you guys
doing
hear?
laps
Like,
in the
is
back.
it
Like,
do you hear like boom, boom? Like
like
thump?
someone's stepping really hard. And I'm like, y'all are downstairs. How is it that loud?
I've wondered that.
They slam the door, which
my
is also
God.
a thing for me. Like, don't slam the door.
Yeah,
Don't slam the door. Like,
that's rude.
that's,
It's just
well, one, it just feels rude, but I was just like, why are you mad? You know, like, they're not even mad, but it's just like it's triggering. It's
yeah,
like,
it's very like aggressive.
But they fucking slam the door too, and it's weird being on the second floor because the noise even from the neighbor in front of us, like the noise just travels up into the apartment.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's really weird. It always sounds like someone's walking up the stairs and no one's there.
Yeah.
We also get a thump.
Ghost.
Yeah, we also get a thump in the guest bedroom from the closet. And I had been telling Carlos, because I'm home a lot, so I've been telling him, I was like, when I work, I just hear as if the because it's those sliding doors, the door kind of falls into place, like if it was out of place and it kind of just like fell into place.
Oh, okay.
But then when it does it the second time, you're like,
Something going on there.
that's weird. And we don't use that closet often enough for it to be like, okay, well, you know. And then part of me was like, well, maybe it's not even our closet. Maybe it's
downstairs.
the downstairs. I don't know. You know what?
Somehow the apartments are just all
the
connected
noise
together.
it just
in
echoes.
terms of
Maybe we
noise.
don't have enough furniture yet. It's just loud in here.
Yeah.
But he finally heard it this week, and I was like, okay,
You're like, so I'm not crazy. I'm not
crazy. I saged the house. Doesn't matter. The sound is still there. But I was like, it's funny when I told him, I was like, I was too busy with work where I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever. I need to finish this. I don't care.
that's funny.
But
Well, since we're talking about, I guess properties, you could say in a sense, let's talk about what you do for a living. So you are a planner, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
can you explain to those of us that don't know, can you explain what your job entails essentially?
Ooh, okay. So I'm officially an assistant transportation planner, and I work for a architectural engineering firm / consulting firm. So as a but I do a little bit of everything, but as a transportation planner, so most of our clients are either local or regional agencies that sometimes just don't have the manpower to create reports and do analysis and do graphic stuff. So we'll have contracts with them, whether it's like long-term contracts or just saying, oh, whenever you need this type of work, we are who you go to. You don't go to anyone else but us.
Yeah.
And we do that for you. So I started in October. I'm salary. So
Nice.
I don't really, technically, I work 40 hours, but it's not
Usually
40
more.
hours. Yeah. I work more than 40 hours for sure on average, just because, I mean, it's new to me and I'm just trying to keep up and it's stressful. But as a transportation planner, I do a little bit of everything. So I'll do research for my supervisors or the project team where I look into, an example. City of Glendale. City of Glendale wants to change their general plan. The general plan basically consists of all the policies that dictates what you can and cannot do within the city of Glendale and what you can and cannot do with your property and all that stuff. And if they want to update it, but they don't have enough planners on their end to do it, they'll hire us for us to kind of provide that outline. We, as consultants, give them the options. Oh, this is what you had. This is what we think is best for what it is that you want and what, based on like the analysis we did and what your city needs, this is what you think you should do. And then ultimately they have the final say whatever they want to grab from that and apply it to their policies.
So you're just there to give them like, hey, these are your options essentially. And then you have the final word of like whatever you want to go with.
Right. There's like
based on what
on
you
our
say.
expertise and what you want, this is what we recommend, or this is what we recommend you tailor it, or like whatever. I think some of the projects I've worked on, like it's mostly like grant writing. So an agency wants to apply to get certain funding for particular projects, and they just kind of dump it. They're like, this is what we want to do. This is the application. Do it for us. And then we'll try our best to kind of get all the information that they have and assemble it into the application how they need to have it. We give it to them and they're like, oh, we want it to sound this way and we'll add this and actually we'll want to change that. And like, okay, and so we'll make those changes for them, and then ultimately when we're all in agreement, they'll go ahead and submit it and hope that they get funding for whatever it is that they want.
And so I'm assuming most of the time it's like real estate stuff.
Not necessarily because I do transportation projects.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just like funding. They have, I don't know, like a new rail project, or they're trying to extend a bike lane in their city and they don't want to pay out of pocket for it.
Yeah.
So they'll apply for funding that's out there, whether it's like federal or state funding. And then say, well, and then those applications will have certain requirements. It's like, well, the project that you are applying for needs to serve X, Y, and Z communities. And usually it's like underserved communities of color. So you have to show that where you are proposing to have these projects, that it's going to serve that community.
Yeah.
Two, that the community wants it, that the city that it's going to be placed in is in support of it, because you can't just apply for things that nobody wants. But I mean, that's not how that works anyway. So
is it no more LA County or just like Long Beach or is that Orange County, or do you work like in those areas too?
I work. It all depends. Like we tried it. Like our team, or the LA team, do a lot of LA County work and SoCal region work. But depending on who needs help, like I've helped with projects in San Diego. I've helped projects up in like Oregon.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of hard. I thought I would want to stay with projects that are more local because I understand the communities and like at least I know where they are. Working for other states and other counties, I'm like, I don't know what this area looks like. And I think that in itself can be problematic, and people find problematic in planning that, and that's also something that I'm trying to fight certain feelings with, because a lot of my coworkers, a lot of people in the company are transplants. They're not from here.
Okay.
They're from other states. And, they're from other states. Some of them are from other countries. And, they just have certain skills where they can do this job. But sometimes, I don't know. And depending on what the project is, that's where things can get lost, right? Where your expertise, you see it in one perspective. You have a vision of what this project should look like. And you don't even consider the people that live there.
Right.
Or that it truly is going to help the people that live there.
Right.
So, but that's consulting. It's corporate America. And, it's not, I guess for me, it's still battling like how I feel about my position. How do I feel about the work that I do? And definitely I'm building a skill set, just like technical work that I haven't been, done outside of academia. Because in academia, it's whatever you make of it. And there are no real rules to it as long as you follow your professor's guidelines and you get an A or whatever. But it's not, a lot of times it's not real.
Yeah.
And then this is. So it's, if you're really in tune with trying to make a change and make changes that are for the better, you're going to come across work, or you're going to come across situations that you're just like, and again, it's corporate America, and I may not be able to always avoid those situations. So having to live with myself in some of the work that I do it's going to be challenging. I feel like, I mean, not right now. I think some of the stuff I do is very basic,
right?
But later on, and depending on how high I get and what projects I work on, or maybe even, and sometimes all we can do as consultants is provide options, and ultimately it's the city or the agency that picks and choose what they want to do. We can even recommend for them to be more equitable, to be more fair. But if they don't want that, or they choose not to do, they're not going to do that. Yeah. But, I hate to say it is what it is, but like truly that's the reality of some of the work that we do. And even if I worked for the city, or even, some nonprofits, like they can get problematic in those spaces too. It's just how you navigate it. But hopefully I either just get as much as I can out of this position and then move to something else that's maybe perhaps a little more fulfilling, or feel like, okay, now I have this skill set to help out an organization that I truly feel like is very locally based. Because I've come across some, but it's hard there too, because, you go to the nonprofit or you go like locally based organizations, they don't have the money that these consulting firms have.
Like they have the vision, but they
have the vision.
Monetarily,
it's the resources. So you're just like always fighting for resources. You're always, you're just always trying to scrape by to get the money to do what it is that you want to do. So I think just for me as a planner, I don't necessarily want to stay in transportation. I'm very much a generalist, because I in theory believe that everything's interconnected, whether it's land use, environmental, transportation, housing, it's all connected at the end of the day. And it's like, you should consider everything. You can't build a bike path without looking at who lives in that area. If everyone owns a car and no one bikes, What's the point of having a bike?
All you're doing is
bike
taking
path?
up space for cars or whatever.
Right,
when
which that's the other thing too. Like I kind of, as a transportation planner, a lot of work is in either rail. If you're not doing local projects, it's like regional ones. It's like rail and highway.
right.
I don't care for highway. I personally think it's something we need to do away with. Like, it's so problematic in the way that even the ones in LA, they cut out whole communities to establish the freeways.
Now, by that, do you mean you're not in support of
Expanding them.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Got it.
It's one thing. It's like, okay, well, they're here. You want to maintain them. You know, you want to make sure that they're so good and cars can still use them or whatever. But some of these solutions to create less traffic, to reduce gas emissions, they're like, oh, let's add more lanes so there's less traffic. So those communities where all the traffic is, they're not just breathing in all these emissions. I was like, okay, but we've already seen that you can add another lane, you can add a second lane,
And there's still traffic.
and there's still traffic. So
Yeah.
are we really fixing anything? Like,
Yeah.
what we need to do is invest in more, public transit, like public transit that actually takes you where you want to go, and it's reliable and it's efficient, that everyone can access, because not everyone owns a car.
I have a question.
People do. Yeah.
Is it true that most cities, they mostly look at tourist point of view instead of the city, people from the city? Because I've heard people say, like, let's say if mayor of LA is like, hey, let's build another highway, they mostly do that for like tourists who come from out of state, just to be like, look how beautiful LA is, instead of using that money to help and support like homeless or LA. Because that's what I've been. Is that true? You're like, I can't say.
No. I mean, it's like, we can just, this isn't just in general terms, it's not necessarily in what the work I've been doing lately, and I haven't been doing a lot of it. So, yes and no. Obviously, the city of Hollywood, Santa Monica, they probably have a large portion of work that's dedicated to keeping tourists to come.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the businesses make money. And we saw with COVID, places that are super touristy, when no one's there,
It's a ghost town.
everyone suffers.
Yeah.
You know, all the businesses suffer, the employees suffer, people are losing jobs. But I mean, I guess in a sense, one really good example is the Olympics, right?
Oh, okay.
A lot of transportation projects are being pushed because the mayor has the 20 by 28. So it's 28 transportation, like public transportation projects that want to be built or completed by
Jeez.
2028 to accommodate all the
new
people
tourists
that are going to be coming in for the Olympics.
And not just tourists, but the athletes, the coaching staff,
everything.
everybody, like
Everyone,
the broadcasters.
But it kind of, in one sense, it sucks to see that these things are only being pushed because of the Olympics. But two, okay, finally. They're finally investing in prioritizing public transportation, although it's not necessarily for the greatest cause, because Olympics in themselves are problematic in some sense, right?
Yeah.
Because once it's all done, you build all these stadiums, you do all these things in hopes to use it for the Olympics, but after that, like,
I mean, that's what happened in Brazil.
Exactly.
They used the stadiums that were left over. I think they said that one stadium only played like 2-3 games, and then now it's like it houses a bunch of buses. That's it. It's like, what a fucking waste, like.
I mean, here, like, you have the SoFi Stadium, right? So you have the SoFi Stadium and the Coliseum, and of course they're going to use it, for 2028. But they're using it for all these concerts and probably have the place booked for years and years to come.
Yeah.
But I mean, did we really need it? It has a man-made lake that no one can really just swim in. It's more for aesthetics, but you have surrounding communities that don't even have clean water. Yeah. It's like it's sometimes these things get built and it's such a slap in the face to the communities that live there. And these projects a lot of times bring people from outside, bring in real estate investors who are pushing out people, or even just property owners who've had properties in those areas for so long. They're just like, oh, this place is becoming so much, quote unquote, nicer. I'm going to raise rent.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like the Super Bowl. I only watched the halftime show. I didn't even watch the game. I texted somebody. It's like, hey, let me know when the halftime show so I can watch it.
I want to watch.
And watching
Dre.
it was dope because it's the lineup was great. Those are all artists I grew up listening to, and it's awesome to see Black and brown artists on like such a national scale. But then and they're representing their neighborhoods. They're representing Inglewood. They're representing Compton.
Compton, yeah.
If you realize what's happening outside those walls, you're just like, okay. Communities are being, people in Inglewood, people in Compton, people in South LA and South Central are being pushed out. These communities that used to be Black and brown are no longer going to be Black and brown.
Yeah.
Because they're just being outpriced and outsold. People can't afford to stay. People can't afford to pay the rent there anymore. And they're getting pushed out. And it's just like, it's kind of really sad. It's really sad to think about. But, I don't know.
That's politics here. And I think everywhere's
political.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, those are all the people in power, mayors, council members that are in favor for this.
Yeah.
Because it looks good to them. They're just like, this is what we need. This is what's going to bring in money. And like, look at all the jobs we're creating. I was like, what jobs? The ones at
For
the
who?
stadium?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're going to pay them how much? And how much is rent?
Yeah.
So you're going to pay them $16 an hour and give them jobs $16, like minimum wage jobs. They still can't afford to live there. So really all your employees are eventually going to be busing it in.
Yeah.
Hopefully. There's good buses and good trains to the stadium, but like they're all not even going to be from the area anymore.
I have a question. Okay. These last 2 weeks, my God, it's been ridiculous. I've taken my parents to the airport twice. And that's why I didn't go last time because I had to go drop off my parents at the airport. But I saw that they're doing construction and stuff in and around the airport. And so now that you're telling me all this, I'm like,
Olympics.
Makes
That's Olympic
me wonder,
money.
Like, okay, so that makes more sense because I'm like, is there something wrong with LAX?
Two projects happening at LAX. So
Okay.
they're having the People Mover, which is it's going to be the little train within.
Oh, okay.
And I can talk about this because this is like public information from Metro. You can look it up. There's the People Mover, and I think that should be done by either next year or 2024.
Okay.
And it's going to just be moving people around the airport itself. So I can't really think of, I don't know, maybe Houston. I think Houston has one. There's a couple airports out there that have a little, they're so big that they just have trains that just move you from terminal to terminal.
Yeah.
So they're going to bring that in. And then two, they're going to be connecting, I think, the Green Line, which is now called the K Line because they just changed that, and connecting it directly to LAX. I don't remember what year that's going to open, but that they're trying to make those connections, which again, great. It's great for us people who like to travel. You don't have to drive in anymore. Yeah. People's like, you pick them up from the airport. You can take the train.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. And it's just the traffic in that area would be hopefully better, right? Or at least we don't have to. We don't have to do that. You live in Van Nuys now, so
I'm very far removed from
no, but like you got
area.
the flyaway. The flyaway is great.
That is true.
If you ever get
I don't really travel that much.
It's $7.
Yeah,
you can if you want to. It's right there. Nobody has to.
Also, I know that. I'm not sure. Carlos, you might be able to know this. The World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, they're still doing it in America, Canada, and maybe Mexico after what happened. Do you know what year it's going to be for the 2026?
This year it's not 2026 because this year's Qatar.
Right. Okay. So
So it's gonna be
2028.
is 2028, right?
2026. Actually, the next World Cup. Yes.
Okay. Cool. So so LA is obviously going to be one of those cities. So I'm sure some of that World Cup money is also being put at the airport. I guess one of the silver linings.
It's gonna be hot for the next 10 years.
It's going to be ridiculous. I guess a silver lining is that, we don't need to build more stadiums the way, like Brazil got it really fucking bad. Like with the amount of stadiums that they built that they no longer use that are just wasting away. At least here in LA, we already have the Coliseum, we have the Rose Bowl. We also have in Carson, we have the Dignity Health Sports Park where the Galaxy plays.
We got a lot.
We're good. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. We don't need to build.
They're all a little far away from each other, but we have
it. It's still here, But I'm trying to figure out like, okay, where else and what other cities around the U.S. in the U.S. are they looking at? Like, oh, what's going to be a hotspot? What's going to get a lot of people to come? Oh, but that place doesn't have a stadium. I wonder how many projects are being like, are maybe already in development to be like, oh, let's build a stadium that can fit 50,000 people, 60,000 people. They just built one in Charlotte that was like what 75,000 people, like for the like a new expansion team, brand new expansion team. And there's also this other stadium in New England where I think it's in Foxborough, if I'm not mistaken. But the problem with that stadium is that it's so far away from. It's not. You can't access it so easily. Like people say, it's like a 2-hour ride to get on the bus to go to a fucking game.
Exactly. So sometimes, again, in that sense, it's planning. Where planning comes in. Yeah, those were bad planners. And right. I will say this: SoFi Stadium it got approved so quickly that I don't even think it did like the necessary. And don't quote me. But I remember reading it. It's like it didn't even go through the necessary environmental impact studies that it needed to, because they were just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Just go.
And we're just like, what do you mean? I was like, because as we saw for the Super Bowl, traffic was. Oh yeah, that's one thing I heard that was was terrible. Those are things that you have to look at before the project can get approved. But because it's SoFi, politics, bureaucratic system, they were just yeah. And then it's like, oh, but well, now we have to do something to fix it. And I was just like, this is we're planning, like that wasn't even planning. Like we just fucking built something without even thinking about it, because all people think about is money. Yeah. Right. So and that's one thing I did read. It was just like the amount of traffic that we saw for the Super Bowl. That's basically what we're going to see for a month with the Olympics. Oh my God. Because the Olympic, we have not only the stadiums, but we also have different
freeways.
We have the Equestrian Center over here in Glendale, Burbank area. Long Beach has like the Aquatic Center. We have all the different we have Staples Center.
Pasadena has an aquatic center.
Pasadena does too. So all of these different sports complexes and sports centers are so like far from each other that no one in LA really is going to be escaping the traffic that the Olympics is going to bring. And again, a reminder to everybody, the Olympics is a month-long thing.
And it's like an event every day.
And it's like an event every day for a fucking month. I'm very grateful that I work from home and that, we're from where we live. I can just take the train into work. I don't have to worry about that. But like everybody else, like that sucks.
Maybe by the time the Olympics come in, we'll be out in Palmdale with Alan and Jessica. We'll all have moved out there.
I know, they're like, you work from home, so you just be out here. And I'm like, Yeah. It was like, I think about it. I was like, well, maybe if I have enough money, I can just invest and have a property out of it.
Yeah, just have it out there. And then just when the Olympics come, just move out there for a month and then you just come back when everyone's gone.
Right.
So, but I also heard about how I think it was around the Super Bowl that the mayor started to like trying to remove the homeless out of certain areas because he wanted it to look nice and pretty for everybody who was coming.
That's happening everywhere. I think today or yesterday and today they were going to do a cleanup in Little Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I did hear. I hear about that.
These are only places that are tourist attractions, right? So even Echo Park. What happened in Echo Park? Echo Park is filmed a lot now, and they're expecting people to be renting out Airbnbs and be in these very like upscale hipster neighborhoods, aka gentrified neighborhoods. So they're pushing out the homeless and and people that are unhoused, people experiencing homelessness. And it's just like, well, they have these temporary housing, but it's like. It's temporary. You can't just house people and not provide services, or like it's people are dealing with whether it's financial or substance abuse or mental health issues. Like it's a whole support system that needs to be provided. You can't just sweep people up, put them in these little things,
glorified jail cells. To be honest,
and then be like, we did our
did it.
job.
Yay, we helped the homeless.
And then it's like, it's not even helping them. It's just, the people that live there that are complaining and, and I understand. I understand that, sometimes for the people that live there, it's like safety concern. Could just be, just sanitary concerns. And I understand that. But man, it's not really solving anything.
Yeah.
And these are people at the end of the day.
Right.
These are people that need help and just sweeping them up, and a lot of times violently.
Yeah.
A lot of people have to give up a lot of their items just to be in these quote unquote shelters. And the shelters are not always that great. You have to give up a lot of your what liberties you have just to be in there. People have pets. People have partners that, maybe it's a woman's shelter. So, your partner can't be there. They're separate quarters. And so you can't live with them. And so, some people might think, well, it is what it is. Like, if that's your help, like, you should just accept it. It's like, no,
doesn't work.
You have to give people choices.
Yeah.
You have to give people chances. But, ultimately, like, the cities in these jurisdictions, this is just how they see is a quick solve. And something that I just noticed, because I just started going back to the office more often, is I've been writing the red line, aka the A line now. I still I'm like the B line.
I have no idea what line you're talking about.
I understand why they changed it, but like I'm not used to it. So I was like the red line.
Yeah.
I've been using the red line to go to work for so long.
What area do you work in, by the way?
Downtown.
Downtown. Okay.
Yeah. So I used to work at Union Station. That was like my first job. Was there for a few years. So I would take the red line from North Hollywood. Then I worked for LA County for 3 years in downtown. So I take the red line from, and then now I'm back in downtown, and I'll take the Metrolink to either the red or the purple line, and then get off on my stop and go to work. And, it's convenient for me. It's great. But the amount of unhoused people on the train. So before the holidays, it was just, the trains are so much dirtier now. Like,
Really?
it's just like a level of dirty that I have never seen. And also just like the amount of people experiencing like mental health issues. There's just like a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's just like a new level of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like not uncertainty. It's just of
Chaos?
No, not chaos. Like predictability. Like before, it was just like it's people you just they're asking for help. You got $1, sure.
Yeah.
But people kept to themselves, and it was like you can predict people's moves sometimes, or just like I'm just
sketchy. I'm gonna move over here.
I'm just gonna move over here, and
Yeah.
I'll be fine. Or people are people, and you can sense when someone is weirded out, or like even if you are going through something and someone sees you and then you see them do this, like you can feel that, and you can sense that, and it doesn't make you feel good. So it's the same, it's the same thing when you interact with people in public. Like, it's kind of rude if you're gonna make a fuchi face. And if you make a fuchi face and people see it and they react to it, like, don't be surprised.
Right.
But you treat people like people. But now, during the holidays, when I started going back into the office, even super early, there was just like this level of unpredictability that even made me uncomfortable, even if I've been using the train for so long, that I was like, ooh, like this is concerning.
Yeah.
And depending on how you see it, there was also just like before there used to be a lot of policing on the trains, nothing.
Really?
Absolutely nothing.
Not policing,
Like,
you
no
mean
one.
like actual police,
like
security
Metro
guards?
Police, LAPD, sheriff.
Transit.
Okay.
Transit police. they call it.
Transit police, but
Okay.
the sheriffs always used to go on because their offices are in downtown, but not even that.
So they would ride in the trains. Okay. Got it.
and they would come in and out all the time, but even during the holidays, like nothing.
Boom, gone.
Right? I was just like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But in a sense, that's there's problems with that too. And now, starting in the new year, even within the last couple months, so much more policing. Like they're in groups of 2 to 4 in and out of the train. And before, like before, they used to just kick people out. They're just like, oh, this one's no longer in service. And then in the next train, they'll hop on and they'll check if you have your tap card, if you paid for the train or whatever.
Okay.
No, they don't even do that. They just
Yeah.
get that. They just make sure people get off.
Oh wow.
And they're just like, their presence is just there.
Yeah.
Which is really weird too. Because they went from like nobody to like now packs
Bunch of
of 2
people.
or 4.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Cops, security.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, pretty much they did that was because, so I'm not going to say which department I help out with. I'm not going to go in detail. But pretty much the reason that happened was because pretty much after the protests and everything, issue was happening. And then the LA County Sheriff was like, hey, we're going to put more because more burglaries. I don't know if you guys noticed there was more burglaries
Hell yeah.
happening. More people were getting robbed.
Yeah,
so their
only in the
thing-
nice,
Yeah, so
in the rich areas.
Yeah.
So their
Let's
thing
just
was
say
like-
that clearing. Yeah,
So their thing was like,
Melrose.
all right, we're going to put more police officers and everything. But
I don't
that's
have a
the
powder
issue.
bag with me.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
And that's the issues that were going on is they were putting like 3-4 officers in one patrol car, them hanging out together. In the end, like nothing pretty much happened. It was
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing where they were still going in depth and stuff. So
There's a and then we can start wrapping it up.
And they're not going in debt.
There's a lot of
got
problems
money.
here in the city that people don't see or they choose to
ignore.
ignore a lot. One of the things that I don't like is relating to the homeless problem is that, you know, somebody will speak out and say, oh, we need to do something about the homeless. And then their reaction is, oh, why don't you take them in then? Take all the homeless in since you care so much about them. Like, why don't you feed them? Go help them. It's like, well, it's not just up to one person to do it. And by that logic, that's what we should do when anybody speaks up about any problem. Like if somebody's speaking out about, what's that? Sex trafficking, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, if you're so passionate, why don't you go rescue them? You know? Oh, there are so many kids that don't have homes. Well, if you're so passionate, why don't you take them all in? Like you can't just respond that way to
It's like it's just
everything.
such a childish response. It's just like,
Right.
if you like it so much, why don't you marry it? It's like,
Exactly.
okay.
What are you doing?
Yeah, why don't you do it
marry
then?
it?
Why don't you marry? You know, and it's like people who respond that way, I can't help but judge them a little bit because, you know, that's such a privileged thing to fucking say. You know, like you don't have to just snap back at somebody and just be like, well, you solve the problem then. Because this is an inconvenience for you, you should solve it. No, that's not the mentality that solves these issues. It does start, I think, at the higher level, but it's so hard to, one, I guess, get there, and then two, make a meaningful impact because as you described, you know, there's politics involved everywhere. And even if you have good intentions, sometimes the person higher up is from a different background who just got thrown into that company, doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, really doesn't care, has no interest in just besides making money and getting their numbers up, meeting their quota or whatever the fuck they have to do. And then it's disheartening for the person who's there who really wants to make a fucking difference, but is
Sees all the
stifled.
barriers.
It's stifled, but so many fucking barriers, whether it's, people literally standing in your way or politics being played, or maybe they agree with you. They're like, hey, you know what? I agree with you, but we can't do that right now because we have a big contract coming and we can't let that money go or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's one of the biggest problems with government is that as long as there's somebody above you, there's only so much you can do. Like, even if you have the best of intentions. And it's disheartening because like people like you exist and want to make a real difference, and it's hard. And I don't know how, you can answer this, but how disappointing is it? Like, is it disappointing to the point where you're like, should I even be here? Or is it just a motivator to be like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to go do this somewhere else and I'm going to make a fucking difference.
I think it's both because it's just, there's so much, and as we see, there's so much happening. There's so many different issues. I think as long as you stay empathetic and sympathetic to people's experiences, first and foremost, whatever that may be, in whatever situation that may be, I think that's the start. Because then at the very least, you can acknowledge that person's experience. And then everything else that's connected to it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that people face is systematic. And so I think just starting there, because I think it's so easy for people to be like, well, they put themselves in that situation,
Right.
or like, well, they deserve it because X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, it's easy to say that from someone who's never experienced that or has had a certain level of privilege in one way or another, because we're all privileged in one way or another, to forget that, you know, some people just can't cope well. Some people don't have family.
Yeah.
People don't have support systems. People just have certain needs that maybe we just don't understand and that are just not available. And so I think, and again, like I said, I'm a planner, but I'm a consultant. I'm in corporate America.
Yeah.
That makes me feel some type of way, you know, and seeing how other people talk about communities, or luckily, well, I work from home, so I don't interact with people as much as often as I would like to.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's over time, I'm going to hear people say some stupid shit that's going to be like, damn, you're a planner. And I mean, that happened in school too, you know?
Yeah.
Some of my classmates would say some shit that I was just like, yeah, and that's the next person that's going to be working in these offices.
You're
and
gonna
doing what we're doing. And I was like, that's concerning.
Yeah.
But at least on an individual level, just remaining empathetic and sympathetic to people's experiences at the very least.
Yeah.
That's
I
where
agree
it starts.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more things. 1, humble brag, where you graduated from.
So I graduated from UCLA in undergrad in 2016. And then last summer, I got my master's in urban and regional planning from UC Irvine. So
Doing it for the ladies.
Hey.
Let's go. 2, who is Brown Girl Travels?
Brown Girl Travels is a company made by Ashley Garcia. She's the CEO and founder. And last weekend, she did her book festival in Highland Park. So she collected a bunch of books from her support systems and her resources and gave them out to free to the community.
Beautiful.
She had mariachis, she had vendors. She's been doing really big things. So shout out to her, and I'm like repping her, you know.
Does she have an Instagram people could check out?
Yes, she does. So it's
What is
Brown
the
Girl
Instagram?
Travels. Let me see.
I want to
There's
make
no
sure we get
punctuation.
the
Yes.
official.
Let me see. It is brown.girl.travels
On Instagram.
on Instagram.
Follow her on Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. She's doing great things.
Yeah, I want anytime, you know, we have a chance to highlight people, you know, just like I told you in the last episode, we wanted to highlight the female wine company. I don't know what their name is exactly. It's going away from me right now, so I don't want to butcher it. But you know, if you haven't seen the last episode, go check it out. There's a little winery out in Silver Lake. I know it's gentrified and shit, but they purchase and sell all their wine from female winemakers. So
Yeah, I can't even
Support.
be mad at that. And if there's
Support.
winemakers that are you know, women of color, even better.
yeah.
Hopefully I can find them. Yeah.
All right. Well, Gabby, thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having
We're gonna
me.
have to have you on again.
Yay. I'm more than happy to.
Carlos, thank you for coming in and just monitoring everybody. And nobody can see him, but he's there. Carlos is hanging out and being just
Support system.
being a
My support system
and a
just constantly
spectator.
supporting me. Yeah.
And also thank you to our video production manager over here, Alexito.
He would.
Let's get it.
I was like, Carlos was my ride.
Thank you to the lift over there. And thank you for the shakies. It was very delicious.
Of course.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
No problem.
All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Usika. Thank you for listening to the Necked Out Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.